Don't just take all the credit and spike the football by yourself in the end zone. That's a great way to have a lonely sales career. It takes a whole committed team. Hey everybody, it's Kelly Donahue-Piro here. So excited to be with you today and talk a little bit about that tension between account managers and producers. You may have felt it before. You may be experiencing it in your current agency. And either way, it's actually a section that I have as a bonus section in the new course on how to sell commercial insurance, which we're really excited about. That is in the launch phase right now. You can buy it outright. If you're listening to this, I should say between July 15th and July 31st. You can buy it outright for $4.95, or you could subscribe for school at $2.45. And on August 1st, it goes up to $9.95. So if you're interested, get it while it's hot. The subscription's always there for you, though. I want to talk a lot today about why I see so much conflict between producers and account managers and insurance agencies. And honestly, it's one of the things that kind of drives me nuts. And the reason it drives me nuts is so often it's such a waste of time and resources. And I just see finger pointing. And then I see agency owners having to be what I call Judge Judy. It's like weigh in the middle and tell us who's right. The bottom line is 95% of the time, both parties are really wrong, like super wrong, crazy wrong. And we can't have that because then it just becomes like magnets. Both parties are repelling each other and no one's succeeding. And honestly, the client's caught in the middle and the rest of the team is caught in the middle. So we have to kind of dive deep into what causes this so that we can solve it. And in this blog and in our course, we go through a few different options. I think a couple things that I will say make me feel a little bit towards the account manager is a lot of times the owners spend more time with producers or going out and helping them with the accounts. Owners are typically producers more than anything too. And so as that kind of develops and goes through it, it's just they sometimes just have more in common. And a lot of times producers might have the ear more of an agency owner than the account managers. And so little pieces of information float around that get everybody wound up. But I think that more importantly, account managers, I'm going to be fair on both sides, you can't be sales disablers or disablers of the producers. We need them. They're here to grow. They're giving us job security. And just because they do something different or don't follow things the way that we would doesn't necessarily mean that it's time to throw the baby out with the bathwater by any means. So as we're looking at how do we make all this work, I think it's incredibly critical that we take a moment and dive in. So a couple things that are on my mind with this. Compensation. So compensation is so different between both parties. Producers are typically paid heavy commission. Account managers are typically paid heavy base salary. We pay producers commission because we want them hungry. And we want them out there killing. And we want them out there bringing new business because they have to. The other component of it is account managers are paid base salary. They know what they're going to make every week. When you know what you're going to make every week and you have this block of work to do, you tend to do it very methodically. Where producers are like, oh my God, I have the greatest lead in the whole wide world. I have to get on it. That is something that is huge. And they come in and they bring a new lead in and it's coming into this already set pipeline of work. And it can be a little bit of a jumble to try to get it going. And the account managers might look at it and be like, man, this is a stretch. And the producers love this account. And so automatically there's friction and tension there because one party's got disruption, the account managers, the other party's got to eat the producers. So having some understanding of how that works, if you're an account manager, making sure you understand, like they literally many times only eat what they kill. That is the component of it. And so I think that the key is that if you're only eating what you're going to kill, everything is important. And so when they bring it in, it's the most important thing in their day and it's not in yours. You have to be respectful of that. And producers, you also can go a long way by giving account managers a heads up. Like I'm working on this big account. I think it's going to come in. That will get you much farther. So it's about communication so many times. And I also think that identifying priorities. So yes, this might be something that has to get worked on because you're in a competitive situation and all that is important. But everything can't be a 911 either, producers and account managers. You can't put it so far to the bottom of the pile that we miss the opportunity with markets being blocked, et cetera. So a lot of this is communication. A great question is, by when do you need this? When do you need this? Okay, here's my other priorities. I have these renewals I'm working on for you. Tell me how to prioritize everything and work together as a team versus competing forces. Competing priorities is next. So this one's tricky because it doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's out there. So I wanted to bring it up as the dirty little secret sometimes, I think. So the dirty little secret is for many agency owners, they're producers as well, which is great. And account managers oftentimes don't have a one-to-one relationship. In fact, we don't like it when there's a one-to-one relationship because I think that that leads to some other issues for agencies to consider, which we won't get into today. But you've got this relationship. So an account manager might be working with 3-4 producers, just depending on what they do, size of accounts, niches, whatever you got going on. And the producer comes in with this opportunity, but the account manager is working on the agency owner's largest renewal. Agency owner signs paychecks. Producers do not. What would you focus on first? It's pretty clear what I'd probably do. And so it's important for us to understand that there are other work on people's plate and that when you come in and you need help with something, again, not everything's a 911. You can ask for favors, but everything can't be a favor. You have to figure out just because you're excited about a lead doesn't mean drop everything and roll. What I really, really want to do is consider the fact that you have to be in alignment with each other and ask what else is on your plate, what can take priority, where does this come in, but don't just drop it on people's plates and say, why haven't you done it yet? There should be an agreed upon timeline. And this goes into the agency really has to set service standards, right? So if a producer brings something over within 24 hours, 48 hours, it will be submitted. And if that can't happen, we have to raise our hand. But without those, everybody applies their own timelines. And generally for producers, they're excited, eager, want to block markets. It's ASAP. But is it ASAP when there's other competing renewals and other producer work, et cetera, that's coming in? So there has to be a methodology for how commercial account managers prioritize. And there has to be expectations set with producers on what they can expect. The number one key to success on all of this is leadership coming in and setting down and setting this guidelines up. That is 100% the case. Next, communication decorum. A lot of this just has to do with just general respect and general being a professional, but can get mixed up because people are people. People have emotions. Emotions don't have brains, and we can sometimes get petty. So step one, producers are generally out of the office. They're not in front of a computer all day. And again, differences, account managers are in front of a computer all day. So it's very common to hear the producers don't get back to me. Okay, how are we communicating to them? Email, but maybe producers prefer text. Maybe it's easier to do a phone call. Maybe they have 7 million emails in their inbox and that's not their thing. That goes back to the agency standard. We recommend that everybody gets an email response in 24 hours. I actually take it one step further, and I believe that everybody should be using the management system and tasking each other through the system. So it's tracked, easy to see. No one has to have emotional breakdowns. If someone says there's a problem, it should be cut and dry in the management system. Now, I know a lot of times people say, I don't want my producers in the management system. We're talking about tasking. We're not talking about them processing. We're talking about them opening up the file, seeing where it is, and putting a note and sending it to somebody else. It's no different than an email. And we email, again, no priority. Lots of times it's on email chains. It's just in there. It's floating there for two parties. One, account managers might get the email and ignore it, and producers may not see that email for a while. But no party deserves to be ignored or not heard. And that's my number one key. And I want to say that again, no party deserves that. Every party should have decorum and rules on how we respond to each other in a professional manner. If producers can't get back to account managers on renewals, that file should go to the bottom of the pile. If account managers are ignoring producers, that should 100% be escalated. And we need to pick the communication channel. It can't be different for each account manager. It can't be different for each producer. It can't be different based on accounts. It needs to be one clear way. This way, too, if somebody's overwhelmed, maybe it's their largest renewal season, another account manager can pinch hit and help out. But the one-to-one relationship over email leaves no transparency. It leaves no ability to see it set a priority. It's just constant back and forth communication. And oftentimes it's like bursts of communication. It's like email. Oh, simmer down. And that's a challenge that we need to face, right? So communication decorum should be respectful, it should be outlined, and it should be managed, and everyone should act in accordance with it. No one should get a golden ticket. No one should get a freebie, which happens a lot too, of, oh, this person's our top producer, so no. Or the person's our longest standing account manager. Nope, that's not how it works. It's got to be equality in the communication decorum. Next, so important, so important. I have often been upfront saying that I struggle more with producers than account managers, and it's because my BS meter can be pretty high. Now, I know some phenomenal $1 million producers, and I don't have this problem with them. But I'd say the average 80% of producers are BS artists. Tell me about your pipeline. My pipeline's so great. Everybody's telling a story. They're storytelling. They're BSing. There's not a lot of facts in the situation. And so in my mind, I'm just like, dude, you either made your prospecting calls or you didn't. Don't give me the whole, I don't need 20 minutes of explanation, yes or no. Account managers tend to be a little bit more cut and dry, although they have their own set of challenges too. But I have been called the account manager whisperer, so we'll see. But communication, so key. But so is gratitude. And this goes both directions. I think it's sickening when I see this relationship breakdown of the lack of gratitude between each. And a lot of times it's like a little posse forms, a producer posse and the account manager posse, and they're both at each other's throats, which is ridiculous. So the component of this is really stopping and saying, can we show gratitude? Can we show gratitude towards the fact that a producer brought in a good account? Oh my God, this is amazing. Absolutely. The high five should come from account managers. That's helping the agency grow. Can we show gratitude from the producers when they help you close a big account? Can you get them a bottle of wine? Can you tell the owner how awesome they did? Don't just take all the credit and spike the football by yourself in the end zone. That's a great way to have a lonely sales career. It takes a whole committed team, and I think that that is more than important to reference. So gratitude, 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 and then more gratitude. And by the way, if you're looking at this and your team is broken, you as the leader need to show gratitude too, to both parties. Thank you so much. Your sales goal is amazing this month. Now, some agent owners think that's what I pay people for, but it's not. What you pay people for is the ability to be on your team and to help direct them. And you need to direct them with gratitude. So I'm going to say this to the producers. You get more with honey, okay? So if you're struggling with your account manager, you got to butter them up. You got to sell them too. This relationship can be flipped, but you can go ahead and work through that if you're intentional. Next up, equality. In many agencies, unfortunately, people look at producers above account managers, and it's simply not fair and it's simply not right. So this includes compensation and where agencies focus their time. The reality is account managers are managing millions of dollars of revenue potentially for an agency, if not at least premium. And a lot of agencies overpay producers and see no results for more than years, more than a normal vesting period should last. And yet they keep paying them high salaries because they're scared to lose them, because it's better to have a producer than no producer. And then the account managers tend to get a little off to the wayside. Now, I'm not critiquing anyone's comp structure. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. But you have to realize that the account managers a lot of times are producers on in-house business, and they're working those renewals sometimes just as much. So equality of your time is also key. Where do you spend most of your time? Now, if there's a leader over service, that's great. They need to be spending their time there. But you also need to have your pulse on what's going on with that team as the owner of an agency. So you can't be thinking in your head sales is above service. That's sometimes an unspoken thing. It's not. Like, both parties should be equal on an org chart and should be made to feel that way, both with their feedback, their opinions, and everything. And that's just a great way to explain to producers, you need them, and account managers, you need them. This is not supposed to be an adversarial relationship. In fact, in so many agencies, I hear this one thing of, isn't it like this everywhere? Producers and account managers can't get along. I'm like, in dysfunctional agencies, yes. And most businesses, including my own, have some small area of dysfunction. So we need to work through that and take that as a mission of ours to work through that. Last up, and probably the key to all of this, if I'm being honest, at the end of the day, this is the moment. It is clarity on roles. I think oftentimes I see, well, this producer wants it this way. This account manager wants it this way. This client wants it this way. If it's a full moon and Taco Tuesday, then we do it this way. And it's crazy. Then we scramble and we're doing all this extra work, and producers are asking for things that they might not even truly need just because they might want it. And account managers are spinning their wheels, and the whole thing just gets real murky real fast. So I think that it's very important that leadership sit down and say, what does the account manager do? And if they are struggling, what do they do to escalate it? So that could be escalating it to a producer if a client's not getting back. That could be escalating it to a manager if a producer's not getting back. How many reach outs? What's the time frame? And make it clear. It shouldn't be a Rubik's Cube. What does the producer do? What do they start and what they stop? And if they start touching service, we have to smack their hand. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You take your commission and pay the service team to do that work. And oftentimes you're doing service work to avoid prospecting or making cold calls. And so you feel because the team's backlogged or short staffed, you need to dive in. No. In the great words of Bill Belichick, the coach of the Patriots, do your job on the field. Don't do other people's jobs. Focus on your job. Be the best at your job. And I know that this is hard because in a lot of small businesses, we're stretched in many different directions. However, this is incredible key to success. In fact, it's incredibly important because you're held accountable to your job. You're not held accountable to anybody else's job. So if things go awry, guess who gets blamed? It is you. You. And that's the key. So I want to make sure that everybody's focused on how to make everything work and that we are actually trying to make it work. We're not trying to throw everybody under the bus. We're not throwing fingers all the time. Gosh, I can't just think of a bigger waste of time when we could just be selling insurance. It's a waste of leadership's time. It's a waste of sales time. It's a waste of precious of account manager time. And I'm going to leave with this. Account managers, if you're listening to this, you also can't start a little posse against the producers. Look what he did again. Look at this. Can you believe it's another excess surplus lines quote? So-and-so didn't get back to me again. All that stuff is so negative and does not serve you. I'm just going to say it out loud. It does not serve you. It does not serve your goals. It does not serve your stress level. It does not serve the person who you are talking about. Instead, we all need to work together. So don't build up boundaries on it. Instead, embrace the idea that it can be a working symbiotic relationship if we work at it. So that's my story. I hope that you check out our course. Oh my gosh, it's such a great course and we're in the final week of it. So if you're listening to this live, awesome. If you've missed it, you can still subscribe to our school for $245 a month or you buy it on our website for $9.95. It's all about how to sell commercial. He Sharon did an awesome job on this course. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Everybody needs training. Everybody needs tips and tricks. There's bonus sections for me on how to manage producers, on how to get along between account managers. So let's take it to the next level by being a proactive team together.